Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
From the Fifth Quarter Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, you are listening to High School Hoops with our hosts, Steve Collins and Jake Steger.
Hey everybody, welcome to High School Hoops, episode 33. Before we get started on this episode, I want to give a big shout out to Dr. Dish. Make sure you mention High School Hoops or Coach Unplugged, and they'll give you $300 off your next purchase. It's the #1, in my opinion, shooting machine on the market. Also, make sure you go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. If you're a high school coach, I have been there. If you're listening to High School Hoops, I have been there. I have experienced what you've gone through. I've won state titles, multiple ones. I've coached NBA guys. I've had the lows at the beginning of my career and the highs in the recent parts. Let me help you through this journey. Let all of our coaches in our community help you through it. It is second to none, in my opinion. Very active community. So go over and check it out. All right, let's head off to High School Hoops, episode 33. All right, welcome to Coach Unplugged. That is wrong, but I'm going to leave this because this is an unedited version. Welcome to High School Hoops, episode 33. It's been a long day today, so forgive me. What's today's topic?
Well, we decided to add this one quickly in since you had the luxury of going to the Final Four this year. So as high school coaches, what are some takeaways that we can discuss a little bit by watching the Final Four and then overall the NCAA tournament that we can apply and think about as high school basketball coaches?
Well, I mean, I got tons, but I think one of the huge takeaways, there's a couple. Stay in school, I think, would be one.
Yeah, I love that. That's really true.
The anti-one and done, I think, is huge was in this one. I think what was very unique, and I don't know, my coaches and I were texting and tweeting and Facebooking and slacking back and forth through the whole thing. The difference between Texas Tech and how they push kind of baseline and how Tony and Pat kind of push middle. You know, there's more, don't take this the wrong way. Don't write me any emails, but there's more than one way of skinning a cat. There's more than one way of playing this quote unquote, the same kind of defense. So that was a huge takeaway from me. Just get really good at something. You know, I've had coaches go, do you push middle? Do you push baseline? What do you do? How do you, it's like, well, my theory is I like pushing middle more when I have a rim protector. And I like to push baseline when I don't. That's just kind of one of my general rules. But I think the defensive aspect of the game, and just, you know, you look at the other two teams that didn't make it to the finals. I mean, defense was crazy good from those Final Four teams. That was one of my huge takeaways from the game aspect of it.
You know, I think about the tournament in regards to, after just having a good conversation with a couple other podcast interviews I'm doing for Coach Unplugged, and I got done reading a book called 21st Century Practice by Brian McCormick, and it talks about the Dick Bennett theory about being good at three things. And you could really tell the two teams that were in the finals this year were teams that were really good at a couple things, and they were masters of that. Right. And I think that just shows that like a really good, solid basketball team is going to have an identity, and they're going to be really good at a couple things. Right. You know, And we talk about Virginia, their pack line defense, their 3-point shooting, playing well and discipline and their pace, got them all the way to the national championship. Whether you like the way they play or not the way they play, and there's ultimately that more that goes into that. But if you can get good at 3 things or 3 or 4 things and be really good at it, you're going to go far. I think the Dick Bennett
Kentucky and Duke are really good at some things too.
Right.
Sometimes one style just ends up being the other that year.
Right. But
some years it doesn't.
Successful programs build on certain things, and so, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about that. Dick Bennett's son, Tony Bennett, wins the national championship, and that theory kind of holds through. You look at Texas Tech, and they didn't have basically any All-Americans on that team, but they had an identity.
They had one.
They had one. Okay, sorry.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
Okay.
He'll be top 10, 15, I think.
Yeah, and you'll probably have a good NBA career too because he works hard.
Yeah,
he's long.
You gotta have some players. Don't get me wrong. Virginia didn't win. I mean, you got to remember Virginia won the ACC. It's not like they were, it's not like Butler was a while ago.
Yeah, that's just a whole nother conversation. But we could have a whole podcast dedicated to the things that Brad Stevens has done, which you wouldn't have a problem with anyway. So,
I love Brad Stevens. Yes,
I know you do.
You're right. Yeah. If you're listening, Brad,
you're more than welcome to come on High School Hoops or Coach Unplugged anytime you like.
Anytime.
So that was the one thing that I really felt, and you could tell that. The 4 teams that were in there, the unity and it was really good for college basketball this year. I mean, for people that are attending, you want to see the big name teams and so forth.
Right. And I can tell you from my son's standpoint. So my son was disappointed because I took him. He was disappointed because he wasn't going to get to see Zion. I said, Drew, this is more than just about the game too. It's about experiencing the entire.
Yeah, but you were able to see 3 really good games.
3 really
good games. And 4 teams that played as a team, and it was a good place for any high school basketball coach and his son to be at. You couldn't ask for a better environment. No. Teams that have never been there before. And that whole feel and going into overtime and the controversy and, the mental mistakes. And that would be, one of the other one things I want to talk about is like, even at the collegiate level, mental mistakes are huge, and this,
I mean, I sit there and think, oh my gosh, I cannot believe he fouled him.
Right.
But then, so I shouldn't. For those of you who are listening, if an 8th grader does it in an AAU tournament on a Saturday in April, you shouldn't get that mad at them. Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying the podcast as much as I am. A couple ways that you could help us out over at Coach Unplugged would be, number 1, you could go over and subscribe and like. We would really appreciate that. That really does help Spotify, iTunes, Acast, Stitcher, wherever you listen to this podcast. That would be really good. The second thing you could do, you could help me take my wife out to dinner. You could help me keep these podcasts on the air by going over and joining teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. The new site is up. It is moving. It is not where we want it to be yet, but it's pretty good. It's 99.9% there. It's got videos, it's got audios, it's got community. It's got me, we're one-on-one call, whatever you need to make your basketball journey a little bit easier. So go over and check it out. It's Netflix for basketball coaches, but even better. All right. Talk to you soon. That's the biggest game in collegiate basketball, and the kid did it, so.
And, your theory is right in this whole Final Four you talk about a lot, is that when the players need to hear you the most at that time, they're not going to hear you. They're going to have to be able to communicate with each other or be able to execute. And you know what? Those 2 teams that were in there, they were 2 teams that were well prepared.
They were well prepared.
And it's nothing against – I like Chris Beard a lot. I think he's an awesome coach. I really like Tony Bennett. I have respect for both of them in their programs. I think they're great for the game. I think they're just class act guys. I think they're awesome. In the end, sometimes the game becomes so big, it just happens. And there's just some things you just can't control.
Right. Yeah, well, and the thing is, it's a little different because they do get to communicate, because it literally seems like there's an instant replay every 33 seconds in the last 2 minutes. So that the game has so shifted with that instant replay that they basically know that if it's going to be close, they're going to get it. They're going to get a look at it. They're going to get a timeout if they need one, or they're at least they're planning on them. I think a little bit more. Yeah, and then from a coaching standpoint, the number of coaches. I mean, literally the first day we were walking in, I think the Iowa coach walked by, the Connecticut coach. I mean, my son's eyes were about this big because it's like, whoa, yeah. There's Beeline. He just walked by. They're all over. Because the National Association of Basketball Coaches also has their convention.
Right.
So it's like, holy cow!
Everybody's there,
and then everybody's networking. I'm telling you, for all the young coaches listening out there,
it's a good place to network.
Oh my God, everyone's trying to connect and get their next job, and who because really it's about trust. I'm gonna have the guy that sat next to me on a podcast soon. He's a NAIA coach, assistant coach, and it's all about networking. It's all about because they got to trust you. Like Coach K won't even take anybody that's hasn't played for him at this point, basically.
Right?
Because there's a level of trust that you got to have, so that the federal government doesn't come in.
That's so funny. That's so funny. The conversation I just had with Matt Lewis out of UW Oshkosh, who won the Division III title this year, it was all about how does a young coach get a head job. It's all about connections and networking and how you running camps and where you go. And sometimes you don't make a lot of money, but it's all about networking. So I mean, just even going to the Final Four, networking is huge. That was a big thing. That I think is really important too by going to an event like that as well.
It is something. So I'm going to tell people that haven't been, you should go. If it comes to your area, you should definitely go. Drew and I will definitely go back. We were talking about next year. Not sure it's going to work out next year, but I think it's in Atlanta next year.
The year after that, though, is in Indy. That's not that far.
It's not that far.
No, I went to Indy when the Badgers went. So.
Yeah. So the thing is, it's hard to explain watching a basketball game in a football stadium with 80,000.
It's crazy. Yes.
It's not the ideal way to watch a game.
No, it's not.
But it's an unbelievable experience, which is the way I would describe it. So it's like one of those things. I have no desire to go to a Super Bowl. I just don't. I'd love to go to maybe a World Series game. I'd love to go to the Masters because I think you're right there.
Yep.
An NBA game, I might take them to a Bucks game maybe in the next round. Those are fun, but everybody should, if you like college basketball, you should definitely go.
I also think now this is a time that high school coaches can really elaborate on the Final Four in their own program next year and talk about some of the things that these teams were able to do as a team defensively, all together, sharing the basketball. I mean, they were able to see it on the biggest stage. A lot of times kids start to believe more when they see it happening. Zion Williamson did not win the national championship. The team of Virginia and the team of Texas Tech were in the finals. I just think that's great for young men and women to see that,
The best players, and this is what I'm telling you, the best. Look at Tyler Hero. He didn't even get his team to the state tournament in Wisconsin.
Right.
It's like just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're going to be able to do. The key is to be able to get the good players to buy in together.
Yep.
And Duke had probably the most talent.
Oh, absolutely.
But, they weren't able to win it. It's
right.
like, and you can't tell me it's coaching. He's probably the best coach alive at this
right.
One of them.
We don't even have to argue with that for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, he's definitely in the top 20 coaches alive.
Right.
I don't think anybody would argue that probably, and he didn't win it with that talent. So there's some luck involved. There's some bounces. They don't even should have gotten to the Elite Eight. So, but I think the first thing I said is true too. That experience matters.
Yeah, and being good at a couple things. And then, again, it came down to two teams that were very good defensively, very, very good defensively, and two different ways of doing it. So, there isn't a right and a wrong way. It really depends on what fits the mold of your team. I think that's a great
You got to be able to defend at some point if you're going to win it.
Yep.
If you're a running team, I'm going to slow you. If you're a slow team, I'm going to get you going fast. We're going to be able to counter those things at some point in the game probably, but you're going to have to be able to get some stops if you want to win it. Doesn't matter which level you're coaching at this point. But
right.
Okay, I'm glad we did that. That was
good.
It was good. All right.
All right, sounds good. Thanks. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, go over and leave a 5-star review. If you didn't, turn your iPhone or whatever you're listening to the podcast off. But no, go over and check out teachhoops.com too. If you want to give back a little bit, if you want to join our community, if you want to become a better coach, if you want to find the nuances of this great game, if you want to delve into this brain of 30 plus years of coaching, go over and check it out, and we'll help you through this great journey. Have a great day.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.